War. War never changes. The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
Cats. Everybody was liking pictures of cats on the internet, and nobody saw the dog uprising.
Few
Welcome.
people. Yes. Hello.
Welcome, everybody, to the second part of our Fallout Retro Something Spective, where we will
Where are my testicles, Summer?
Let's not bring
Okay.
Rick and Morty into this.
Okay.
We don't want to draw in that crowd. This is GameTales, the show where we talk about things for several hours. The thing this time is Fallout, the entire series. We're spending the entire month talking about the series with me and with Stefan. Hey, Stefan.
Oh yeah. Hey, Unicom. I just want to apologize from the beginning. I have a little bit of a scratchy throat, so if you hear me doing a lot of or drinking something, it's for everyone's, or maybe coughing somewhere in the background. That's why it happens. I apologize from the get-go.
No worries, it's fine. So last time you said there was something that we had not yet mentioned about Fallout 1. And you wanted to add it into the show. So what was it?
I don't. Man, it's been a whole week, and I don't really remember what I told you. Did I say something, or was I just vague?
You were kind of vague about it, and I said, okay, we can fit it into the other show because we already spent a large portion of the previous show talking about Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. Yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about the ink spots, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because the song, because you mentioned that initially Interplay wanted "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire," which is also an ink spot song, but they couldn't get that one, so they got "Maybe," which again, still also an ink spot song. And whilst their first choice would have worked perfectly with the game, the melancholic sort of semi-sad approach lyrics of "Maybe" really helped not only frame the intro, as in contrast with what the intro shows, because the intro, as we know, that's where we are introduced to the Vault Boy and to the basic plot setup
And the annexation of Canada.
But it also works really well for the mood, for the atmosphere of the entire game. I wanted to mention that I was so impressed. I was so marked by that song that I actually got their greatest hits. It's like a 2 disc album, and I shit you not, 95% of the songs all start with basically the same guitar chords.
I know, I've noticed that.
They changed the tempo, they changed the actual chord, but it's the same thing.
I know.
And that was really funny. That was really, really fun. But they're mostly all of the songs are kind of in they're romance songs. I think we can call it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add to Fallout 1.
And now we move on to Fallout 2. This was, I think the developers of the first one, Tim Kaine and the bunch, said that when Fallout 2 was being made, they felt like they were giving up their baby. Because it wasn't a game made by a couple of people in a shed somewhere. It was now something that the entire company pitched in on, which is noticeable because it was made in just 1 year. And it is gigantic.
And it's way bigger.
Yeah. It just goes over the roof, to the moon, and beyond the stars.
It does. As far as I'm concerned, Fallout 2 is exactly what a sequel should be. What both in terms of video games as well as movies. It basically takes what the first one did well and doubles down on it and fixes what the first one had faulty with it.
You can now push your character, any NPC actually aside, and actually be able to go through those.
And to be honest, for anyone who's played the games for any length of time, that is a massive. I mean, some people might call it somewhat of a quality of life thing, but I'd call it like a crucial gameplay feature that the first one needed and the second one has. But besides that, there's the almost, it's not exponentially, but the way bigger scope of the game. The more I could actually say it has slightly better gameplay because of the extra features that were introduced, including being able to somewhat affect some control over your companions and outfit them with items and use them as walking mules, basically. Not to mention the intro is cooler, to be honest. It's a bit more, now that they had already set up the world, it was much easier to tell a story in the intro. And again, everything you liked in Fallout 1, Fallout 2 does that and does it better. Like, hey, did you like power armor in Fallout 1? Well, you not only get power armor and hardened power armor in Fallout 2, but you'll actually get power armor Mark II.
Yeah,
you'll get the Mark II, and you can also harden that motherfucker as well.
And everybody will say that you look like a fridge.
Yes.
And you do. You look like an old style fridge.
Not so, and not just to mention how much bigger the world is, and the very important fact that you do not have to stop playing the game after you finish the game.
Yeah, you can just keep on. Actually, when you finish the game, you get a book that gives you maximum skill points. The Fallout 1 survival guide, and I think it says on it, oh, you were supposed to get this when you began the game, but it was delivered too late.
Yeah, after you're done, doesn't really. After you're done, usually, I don't know, level 23, 4, something like that. So you're pretty much death, or you're like death incarnate, basically, for most, basically for everything that is still alive in the game. Because the only thing that is a problem is Corrigan. So you've just solved that problem.
Yeah, speaking of Corrigan, he's kind of the weakest part of the game. Because in terms of enemies, in terms of, the big baddies, he's...
villains. Yeah, he is. You're right. You have a point there.
He's literally a character that was played by Clint Eastwood in a movie. And I think he was the president's bodyguard in that movie too. That's it.
That's a nice reference. Yeah, but again, the villain is mostly the Enclave in this one. So it's since looking from how the first one was about basically eugenics, we move on to this one, which is about authoritarian organizations, and basically because the Enclave is basically a military government,
kind of fascist a bit,
authoritarian, So that's kind of the overarching theme of Fallout 2. But yeah, you're right. The big bad, as opposed to the master, who is tough. I mean, he is both the villain and he is also an interesting character. He's especially when you dig through the holodiscs. But the boss fight, I guess they just wanted Fallout 2 to have a boss fight at the end. So that's what we got.
Yep, it kind of works, I'd say. But you kind of wish that there was more to the character. Like, you kind of wish it was deeper.
You kind of do, but comparing to how wide, how in-depth the game is, the world is, how many things you can do in basically any location. It would have been nice to have a more complex evil guy. But it's not like I missed that, or I'm like, oh man, the game would have been splendiferous if it. No, the Fallout 2 is it's a classic. It's an icon of games. Usually, when people ask me which Fallout is my favorite, I say Fallout 1 and 2, because as far as I'm concerned, they're basically Fallout 1 was basically like a dry run for Fallout 2.
Mm.
So that's I did not miss the presence of a more complex villain. I mean, the villain of a more complex, like, final bad guy, let's say, because like I said, the villain is the Enclave, and they are relatively big bunch of people.
Considering it was made by Blackout, I think that at one point they may have had something more complex in mind for Horgan, but that may have been cut. There's a lot of cut content out of Fallout 2. It's an amazingly big game, and there's more stuff there that was not fully implemented. There are some restoration mods that add the locations back in, that add some events back in, and I think those just scratch the surface.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. And that you're right. But even with all of that shit not put in the game,
it's still gigantic.
It's still an immense game. It's a wonderful experience to play every time. I mean, you can play Fallout 1 numerous times, and shit, I mean, I just streamed it this year, and I discovered some new things. For instance, getting +1 luck. I had no idea I could do that in the game. But in Fallout 2 is that much easier to just have wildly different experiences playing the game, because there's so much choice. There's so many places to visit.
And you can look into things. For example, let's say you don't have shoes when you're stepping in some pools of glowing green goo. You may grow an extra toe. And you can then amputate that toe and have +1 luck. Because you have a luck charm now.
You get the Robo-Duck, I think, can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it was in Fallout 1 where you could irradiate yourself so badly at the glow that there was a chance you would trigger a mutation that gave you +1 to all stats or something. But you would spend like a month in a coma.
I'm not sure. I've never actually heard of that. I'm pretty sure the glow is the most radioactive part in either of the two first games. Actually, you're right there.
It's super radioactive.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know what to tell you.
I remember trying to do that in Fallout 1, but I don't remember if I succeeded.
The glow, when you get the glow, it's such an interesting spot. It's such an interesting place to explore. And getting in is so, makes sense. But I was expecting it to be more complicated or something. So getting into it is just like goofy shit.
But let's move on to Fallout 2. Well, we're going to move back to Fallout 1 from time to time. You can be sure.
Yeah, I think it's become clear that whenever we talk about Fallout, we can't really talk about the titles in a void. You just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of can, but you really shouldn't. That's the general idea. So, but we're back to Fallout 2 now. So,
you play them in order, right? Fallout 1 and then 2.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't.
Fallout 2 was the first full Fallout game I played.
Okay.
The experience of playing it was a bit, how should I put this? I thought I was doing okay. I mean, I had killed all the rats in the den. So many goddamn rats. There's only one other game that has more rats in one place, and that is Drakensang. It's got a dungeon so filled with rats that they're pouring out of the walls. They're chewing down the walls and pouring in.
And then there's the other similarity with the Drakensang rat cave.
There's an intelligent rat.
Yep, they both have intelligent rats as bosses.
Oh, actually, there was supposed to be a second one. I kept reading about it in some walkthroughs at the power plant, but I never found it.
Yeah, I remember something like that as well, but I've never really found another king rat.
It was supposed to be a Pink in the Brain reference because his name was Brain. The second one.
No, I don't know. No, never got. No, that doesn't ring a bell.
But I thought I was doing well. I mean, I was trying my best, and then I got to Vault 15, and I was trying to fight the raiders there that were in the vault, and realized, oh my god, I'm so outgunned, so outmatched, so out everything that I'm just going to restart the game. And I was like 10 hours in by that point.
Yeah, isn't that great?
It's one of the few games that I actually felt okay with restarting, because it offered me so many options that I didn't get bored with it like I did with the Vampire the Masquerade Redemption.
I generally restart RPGs actually. I normally, in order to get a feel of the game, I generally start the game with like a pre-made character, like whatever the game dev suggested, and I play through a couple of levels so that I can see what skills are relevant, and then I usually restart the game. Yeah.
In some cases, I may do that, but if it's going to be a linear game that doesn't really give me much in terms of choice,
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm not talking. I'm talking about things like Fallout or Grimoire Heralds of the Winged Exemplar, for instance.
Yeah, in those cases, you have a lot of options. Like in Might and Magic, I restarted Might and Magic 7, I think, like 8 times, just so I would get different classes and different starting items and different stuff.
Yeah. So in these sorts of games, it's like I think it should be suggested actually for it to restart the game after about 10 hours.
Yeah, by then you'll have a clear idea. It's the same thing with the Dark Souls games. Because at the beginning, you're going to know bupkis about anything.
I'm pretty sure you're right, yeah. Or you can... Generally, what I found after, countless exposures to bioatomic energy... No, that's something different. Most, if not all of the RPGs tend to work well within, the D&D archetypes of classes. Mm-hmm. Tank, healer, magic user, or ranger. So generally, if you stick to one of those basic archetypes, I think you'll be fine.
If not, you're
in
going
general,
to...
I don't know. I haven't played Dark Souls. I don't know.
If you're ever going to play Dark Souls, I recommend Dark Souls 3 if you're going to play it on a PC with a mouse and keyboard because it's the only one that's playable. Yeah, it's annoying with a controller. It annoyed the hell out of me with a controller because you can't move the camera and do stuff at the same time.
Yeah, but you are also considerably less used to playing console games than I am. I've actually played... I have a couple of hours under my belt playing a split screen Call of Duty with friends and Gears of War and shit. So I'm somewhat accustomed to it.
Yeah, you may be better adapted, I guess.
Yeah,
I was mostly adapted to Severance: The Blade of Darkness, which is the same game but with a mouse and keyboard built from the get-go as the default control. But getting back to Fallout, because we're veering off course again badly. Fallout 2. Bigger, more in-depth, and, I'm curious. Did you play the patch version of the game when you first started out, or was it the original?
What do you mean by patched?
There's a bug in the game that if you go talk to Tandy, it crashes. I was really excited because at that point I had not played at that point Fallout 1, and I was curious what happened before, and I heard, this old lady, she's in the first game.
It didn't crash. No, I don't remember Tandy crashing. I had a different problem with it, but that's neither here nor there.
When I went to talk to her and asked her about my great grandpa, I think it was just grandpa. He was about to spill the beans on what happened and stuff, and crash. And I killed her son.
Must have sucked.
Yeah. Her son's a dick, so it's okay.
That I didn't get that. The one thing I did get was that the initial-ish version of the game, I guess, had insanely long load times.
Oh
to
God,
your
for save games, yes, yeah, it was.
It was so huge that I would get up in the not necessarily the morning, but I would get up for a new day, turn on the computer, go into Fallout 2, tell it to load the game, and then I would make my bed, go wash my face, brush my teeth, and in some circumstances make myself like a tiny cup of coffee, and by the time I'd be back, the game would have finally barely loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It took a long ass time to load the game. And then I completely random, whilst I was just randomly looking through a bunch of the CDs I had from one of the several PC gaming magazines that I had. On the CD said something there. It had like a bunch of it had like a quick index on it, and under the patches, it said Fallout 2. And I'm like, okay, let's patch the game then. So I patched it with that patch, and that was the crucial load game patch
Nice.
that was required to play the game properly. That was one of the that was almost the equivalent of finding gold, like that you never knew you had, like something really, really valuable. And just like on a random PC game magazine CD. That was something special.
Fallout 2 started in a very different situation compared to the first one. You weren't the Voldor anymore, you were the Chosen One. You were basically some villager, some technologically inept, barely intelligent desert
Well, not
dweller.
intelligent, like no, not academically from an academic purpose, but they living as living in that village sort of communing with nature, just a lifestyle that allowed them to live better off the land and whatnot. They didn't know math, let's say, but they knew some other stuff. Although the origins of Arroyo is that like basically the see, and sometimes we have to talk about Fallout 1 because the story links. The what do you call the people in the vault in Vault 13? There was always like a bunch of people in Vault 13 that wanted to actually open the door and go out and explore. And those are the people who followed the Vault Dweller when he or she was exiled by that piece of shit overseer.
That may or may not be dead.
Yeah. So pretty much, I mean, they should have had their grandfather. I think it's just grandfathers. I don't think it's great grandfather, like just like we said. So their grandfathers should have been educated. Now, whether why they aren't or whatnot, I don't know exactly. But I think they passed on the relevant skills for survival in the situations they were in, like in the mountainous region of the I believe it's the Rocky Mountains, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think somewhere around there, because it's a lot northern than Fallout 1 was.
So yeah, whilst not the most technologically literate, yeah, like you said, they could still be smart.
Like you could learn how to polish a spear, make it
I
sharper.
don't know. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I don't understand, and I don't think I've ever read where the Temple of Trials came from. What was the Temple of Trials initially? Because it's not like they built it. You can imagine they didn't build the Temple of Trials.
Yeah, I never actually wonder about that, because architecturally it looks almost like something out of Planescape in certain parts.
So I was curious. Maybe you knew something. I never remember reading anything, because it would make fuck all sense for them in 2 generations or less to build the Temple of Trials. That was already there. They just found it.
I'm gonna wiki this.
It doesn't make sense for them to have built that. So
Especially
that was
because it was filled with spikes and stuff.
They could have just retrofitted it with traps. They found it and then they put in the traps.
Architecturally, it had all sorts of things on it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's like it's completely made out of stone. I don't think they had, literally, I don't really think they had neither the know-how nor the manpower nor really the technology. I mean, sure.
It's a giant building built into the side of a cliff with a face on it.
Yeah.
The faces, weren't the faces like part of the... I think I saw them in somewhere else in Fallout 1 or 2.
They could have made the face afterwards. That I'm just saying the interior. I don't think they built the interior. I just think they found it. Because, you have the face of the Vault Dweller. It's like the magic face of the Vault Dweller in Arroyo, which is... it kind of looks slightly different than the face on the Temple of Trials, at least as far as anyway. I always found that a bit odd, but I always assumed they just found it there, like a ruin from a past civilization. not necessarily the modern one, like an older one. They're a native, an older native civilization.
It could have been maybe an attempt to build an early bunker by somebody.
I don't know. It does look like it has like sleeping quarters. It could have been even a jail or anything. I don't really know what to tell you.
But it's
I don't
like,
know.
there's a bit of it. Like there's a bit where you can see through the floor, and there's like something that looks like a sewer, and then there's a thing with spikes, like with blades coming out of the ground. And I never got what that bit was.
Yeah, so it's a bit odd. It's a bit weird, but it is filled with this game's equivalent of the rats from Fallout 1.
Yeah.
Ants. Hey, mister, how much for the giant ant? And those are, again, you have to use the time to practice your. There's a couple of tiny rat scorpions as well.
Yep.
Those are bitchy motherfuckers, because if they poison you and at the beginning you don't have enough HP and you don't, for some odd reason, don't have anti-venom, which I think you find or get at a certain point.
You get it in the chest.
You get it in the chest, yeah. You're kind of dead. I think the venom killed me once, to be honest. Yeah. But again, even in this one, you can get a bunch of extra XP
by disarming all the traps.
If you disarm all the traps, yeah, and you can run through them, which will, you toggle always run and run through them. So getting hit is there's less of a chance of getting hit, and then you have a bunch of spikes, a bunch of spiky pole, like semi spears, not really spears, but yeah, you know what I mean, like just spiky
things,
wood stuff, pikes. By the way, in one of your videos, you were, I believe you were referring to Vlad Tepes, and you said the guy with the spikes.
Yeah, people in the comments are wondering who that was.
Yeah, you should have said the guy with the pikes, maybe, or stakes, actually.
Yeah, stakes would have probably been. It would have been too obvious.
That would have been dog shit. Just recognize you weren't in the stakes area. It was like spikes. Fuck it, it's pointy.
I should say the guy with the sticks.
The guy with the sticks would have been kind of like the same shit. Anyway, I answered that person what you were talking about. Anyway, and then at the end you get I guess Fallout 2 was kind of the Fallout with boss fights, because you get a boss fight at the end of the Temple of Trials, sort of.
But it's optional because it's
exactly.
Fallout.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole temple is optional. If you can just bullshit your way past it completely, just skip it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course you can. Also, if you explore it in the other way, you'll find a downed vertibird and dying or dead Mr. Handy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a key card was added in a patch on one of the vertibirds that you find crashed.
I think so. Might be possible, yeah.
And the key card, I think, was used in one of the vaults. I think it was Vault 15, actually. So you could access the elevator.
And I'm not totally sure. I could have my lore wrong on this one, but I think the pilot of the downed vertibird in Fallout 2 that you see at the beginning is an old lady that you will find in Fallout New Vegas. There's an old lady who used to be a vertibird pilot, you find her in. Oh, I can't remember the settlement with the. It has like a giant dinosaur thing
where
in front
you
of
find
it.
Boone.
Exactly, where you find Boone. Yeah, there's an old lady there, and once you talk to her a bit, she tells you she used to be part of the Enclave, and her vertibird that she was piloting crashed down like many decades ago or something like that.
I vaguely remember that. I more vividly remember them talking about giant eggs and omelets and another settlement.
Oh, the Deathclaw omelets?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think that lady is actually the pilot of the vertibird you find crashing Fallout 2. I'm not sure. People in the comments, please let us know if I'm right or if I'm just high on crack as per usual. But I think I'm right on that one. Anyway, and Fallout 2 has a bunch of weird little things. Like you get to find Bob, was it Bob his name? The ghoul?
Son of oh no God, I forgot his name.
I'm forgetting his name
Harold.
because Harold, sorry, Bob. Oh, Bob is the fruit name. Is
No,
the
Bob.
the,
Bob
the
is the guy
apple,
with
the
the.
tree's name. Yeah, the
I
tree's
think
name.
so.
The plant's name, I think it's Bob. Yeah, so you get to find him. We forgot to mention him in Fallout 1, but he comes back in Fallout 2 and then later on in Fallout 3.
Oh, New Vegas.
And he's not in New Vegas. He's in Fallout 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a whole place called the Oasis and whatnot.
Yeah, I got them confused, I guess.
Yeah, and it's sprung around him. Anyway, so you find him. Yeah, not to mention the King Rat, which that was kind of a kind of something out of left field because I mean, you should have expected it from Fallout, but I wasn't expecting it, and I was hoping he had more dialogue lines. But that's also a pretty tough fight. Regardless of what you have when you get there. It's a tough mother ratter.
I'm not sure if that's still in the phase where the game takes it easy on you because I'm not sure if you noticed this, but at the beginning you have 2 turns of combat. When you first start out, you will be allowed the
It
second
depends. Yeah, it depends. The other things just have a lower sequence than you, so that's why I think.
That only happens at the beginning. After that, you sort of at the same footing as the enemy.
It's always fun to one of the favorite ways to play. So I played Fallout 2 a lot. I played a lot of Fallout 2 in a lot of ways, and I was planning before uni started. I was planning to actually stream a melee, not a melee, a hand-to-hand version exclusively. But yeah, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. But one of the builds I made was. So, I really love aim targeted shots, right? Especially with the crush. We all do.
Oh, yeah.
But one game, I was like, let's not do that. So instead of taking instead of taking the normal perks, I took a small frame. I always took small frame because of the benefits way far outlie the disadvantages, and I took fast shot.
Ooh.
Which basically reduces any AP cost by 1.
But removes the ability to find aim.
Yeah, but again, with this build it doesn't matter because with a small frame and then the implants I would get, and then you can basically add stat points later on also. I'd get agility up to 10 as fast as possible. And my favorite weapon to use was there's an it's not a laser weapon, it's not a plasma weapon, there's just one of them in the game. You get it, I believe, from the Brotherhood of Steel bunker. It looks, it's called something pulsar something.
Bozar?
It looks like no, not the buzzer. Oh. It's a pulsar something. It looks like a two-handed ray gun basically. And it uses like small energy, I think. And the idea was that it does a fuck ton of damage because it's energy damage. So it does a lot of it. So at a certain point, yeah, I got to have 5 shots.
Damn.
Because it would cost only I super min-maxed everything, so it would cost me only 2 action points to fire once. So I would just fucking steamroll everything on screen with 5 shots of that, and it did a crazy amount of damage as well. So that was one of my favorite ways. Then there's the sniper and whatever you can do. But another interesting method to play is the charismatic leader approach.
Oh yeah, I think it was the YK42B pulse rifle.
Yeah, that one. That does a lot of damage. So the charismatic leader approach is probably the most frustrating of them all.
Because somebody will burst fire you eventually.
Pretty much, but you can have a lot of followers with you, and once you get Marcus and who else? There's a good sniper, I think, in this one as well. Not Can't remember exactly whom. Don't take Vic. Fuck Vic.
I think it's useful if you need somebody with good tech skills at the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning, if you can't repair the like the volt reactor or the energy coils and whatnot, sure. But otherwise, not so much. It should be mentioned that the followers in both Fallout 1 and 2 have no AI. They had no time to so they put in followers really late in Fallout 1. So they had no time to write any sort of an AI for them. So everything they do is based on scripts, which is really difficult to. I mean, it's just a bunch of a lot of work, but they didn't have enough. But the scaffolding was already there, and they still didn't build one for Fallout 2, as far as I'm concerned. But as far as I know, sorry. But they did add a bit of extra to the framework to make them more manageable, which has to be said is kind of useful to outfit them with power armor and give them all kinds of weird, crazy weapons and shit.
I was just looking now over the list of possible followers. I had forgotten most of these. I forgot about Skynet. You could assemble a Skynet, basically, a robot to fight with you.
I never realized that. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. So
You had two robodogs even.
you could have. I do know the robot dog, yes, but that's interesting. You have a robot companion long before Fallout 4's workshop DLC.
Also, you had Pariah Dog, which was a dog that would just make things worse for you. It was
Yeah,
for an encounter.
the pariah dog. That guy is called the pariah dog. Now, what you do? So once you got that guy in a random encounter, your only chance. Well, actually, you had two chances, but the first one would be to run back as fast as possible. That wouldn't necessarily always work. It just depended on whether or not the game glitched. Because if it did glitch, then you wouldn't have the pariah dog with you. If it didn't, you would have him with you for the rest of the game, and he just fucks up your luck. The second option is to shoot the motherfucker the very moment you see him. I killed them several times just to not get his debuff.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Pariah Dog lowers your luck to 1, meaning that your crits are
Yeah,
kind of gonna
that's
suck.
bad.
And you also get jinxed.
That's the bad. I mean, Jinx is sort of funny, but getting a luck of 1, especially if you play any sort of critical hit based build, which basically any sniper build is, or any melee or hand to hand build is. So that's a lot of them. Although granted, my fast shot build wouldn't have mattered to that build. It really wouldn't matter. But yeah, the pariah dog, shit.
Here's one thing we didn't talk about the last time either: the jinxed, the fact that everybody can critically fumble, and critical fumbles are really well handled in the game. It's not just you miss and miss your turn, you miss and you knock yourself out, you miss and you drop your weapon, you miss and do something totally stupid, and it's fun. Like
It is.
In
No.
a lot of games, when you critically fumble, you just you lose a turn. It's not fun. Here it can be fun. You can accidentally kill somebody else that you were not aiming for by critically fumbling. Sometimes it'll be an NPC that you should not have killed. Sometimes it'll be a friend. Sometimes it'll be a super mutant that was trying to kill you.
The sound for missing or critically fumbling is really ting. It has that weird ricochet paching sort of sound. That's also really funny.
Oh, you could also get married in the game. I forgot about this. with Miria and Devin.
Yeah, you can.
Well, technically,
do that.
it was a shotgun wedding, literally.
You can you can do that. You can get into porn, which who knew?
Oh yeah,
Who knew
polish
the
the pole.
who knew post-apocalyptia needed had such a vibrant porn industry? But
It
I
does.
guess
It does.
bombs or no bombs, you could do that. You could.
You could play detective and try to figure out who spiked the jet that killed some mobster's son.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Also, you could go grave robbing, which I hardly suggest.
Yeah.
That's a great way of getting some free shit. Yeah,
Or
sure.
mine.
You get the karma perk of grave robber, but yeah, like yeah. So man, it's
There's a bit
post-apocalypse.
in Golgotha where you have to dig up a grave to get to find something, but that it's a trap. So you can actually get somebody else to dig it for you and have them take the trap out, and then while they're digging the grave and they're done, you can throw the mine back in their hands and let it explode. Man, it's like I said in the previous episode. These games let you be like a totally vindictive little bastard, even though you're good at heart. They let you express yourself in such marvelous, twisted, evil little ways.
Exactly, and the thing is that it doesn't take away like you being the occasional asshole, or it doesn't take away from you overall being a good person. You can totally play the game like that, and that's how you can also play tabletop RPG games. That's kind of like what you can do. Like you don't always have to. I mean, sure, you can be the hero, but no one should play any game as if they were lawful stupid. Which is how some people have interpreted that they should play lawful good paladins. No, that doesn't make you lawful stupid. But where was I going with this? Because you said Golgotha and then
Evil by degrees. Like
yeah.
be twisted
So
in
you
different
can
ways.
still, and again, you can create different reputations for yourself in different places,
Probably
which again is really nice as well. I mean, you can be a great guy in one place and can be a total asshole in another one.
Probably my favorite way to become an asshole in a place is when you're trying to find the Nixon doll. When it's just that quest that the kid gives you, he lost his doll and you have to find it. You find it and then you have the option of giving it to him or ripping it apart in front of him, so it'll be a sign that the world is unfair, uncaring, and will grind you up and destroy you if you let it. And I was hoping that kid or that kid's grandchildren or something would show up in a later follow game and track you as the descendant of the chosen one to kill you
That would have
for
been
that.
cool. That really would have been cool.
It may be buried somewhere in Fallout New Vegas, but I didn't play, like I didn't fully 100% finish that game to figure out if it's actually there. I hope it's there somewhere. Because New Vegas has a lot of connections with the Fallout, like a lot of them. Like Cassidy's daughter is in it.
Also, there's one quest, one location where you can literally blow up a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Literally blow up shit. Just it's wonderful. That's just
It's beautiful.
if there's a couple of things, if there's like a couple of encounters that sum up Fallout 2 for me, or quests, I think one of them would be that one, the blowing up the
toilet.
latrine.
Yeah,
I thought the toilet, that's a latrine. Blowing that one up. Which one? Because I have a third one. I wanted to say a second one, but it escapes me. But the third one would be the second one would be finding the unconscious dude in the radioactive cave.
yeah, the guy that was there for like before the war.
It's a Buck Rogers reference.
Yeah,
That would be the second one. And the third one would be the random encounter where you find the guardian
On the bridge?
from... no, that's good. That's good, but no, I'm not. So that's more of a Monty Python reference, although that's a great one. No, I'm talking about...
There's cows flying from the sky and killing you.
I'm talking about the guardian from the City on the Edge of Tomorrow episode of Star Trek, the original series.
When you go into it, you end up in pre-Fallout 1 Vault 13.
Vault 13, and you mess some shit around. Some shit happens there,
and you break the water ship.
Yeah, so those three things kind of boil down Fallout 2 as far as I'm concerned.
And speaking of water ships, when you get to Vault, what was the Vault City?
Yeah,
they have so many water ships there.
They have, that's just rubbing salt in the wound. They have like rooms upon rooms of giant crates filled with water chips. Son of a bitch.
I'm not sure if at what point in the series was it revealed that the vaults were just a social experiment to dick with people?
In Fallout 2.
Yes, I'm not sure if it was already revealed by the time I found that bit, but it seems suspicious.
It's revealed. If I remember
when you talk
correctly,
with the president. Yeah,
you find that out once you've reached the Enclave, so towards the end.
It started seeming a bit suspicious when you get to Vault City and see all those water chips. Said, what the fuckers, what were you doing with all of these? How did you get them all? Why?
Yeah. Well, I don't really think they had that as a plan up until Fallout 2. I don't know if that was the initial plan in Fallout 1. I can't say.
They did write a Bible for the series, but it was done pretty much before Fallout 2 began development, but after Fallout 1 was done. So I think it was built on top of it after the game was done. I think.
Yeah. Also, you can find an interesting AI, like an ancient sort of... basically, you do find Skynet and you can play some chess with him, and with a high enough intellect, you can beat the fucker.
Yep. I remember that. I know I was talking with I think it was in Fallout 1 or 2, and the AI said that the war was... the bombs were caused by AIs and not by humans.
That's more of a theory, but it spawned a theory regarding, but no, that's I can't really remember if it was in one of the Fallouts. The idea is that particular theory started from Fallout 4, where you find an AI called Pam.
It was literally I think it was either in the boss bunker in Fallout 1 or somewhere in Fallout 2, where you talk to an AI and it will tell you, we started the bomb droppings.
I don't think it actually says that. I think it says it might have started. There is no canon reason. There is no canon first striker. It is not known. It is nowhere in the games, nowhere in the Bible. No one knows who actually started it.
I think maybe, not entirely sure if it was certain, but it did mention that AIs may have been.
It's a possibility. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Sure, but no, there is no. They thankfully leave that vague. We don't really need to know that, and it's nice to have something to speculate about.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that at a certain point. But
sort of like what the Bethesda does with the Elder Scrolls, and the thing it does well with the Elder Scrolls. There's no actual definitive truth. There's a lot of people in the universe, in the context of the game, with different opinions about what actually happened. And that's the bit that's actually quite good about the Elder Scrolls.
And as far as you know, or as far as everyone else knows, you have to. It's kind of like in real life. You have to deal with what it is that you have to deal with on your plate at that certain time. You can't. There's no way for us to actually know what happened in any point in history besides what we have handed down, either as recorded or written down. If it's recorded with video and audio and not tampered with, you can kind of be sure, but you'll never really know what was the maybe.
If you're going by
really,
second-hand accounts and nothing else with no evidence, it's kind of fuzzy.
But interestingly enough, once Bethesda purchased Fallout, the Fallout franchise, there have become some pretty interesting links between the universe, the Fallout universe, and the Elder Scrolls one.
Yeah, I'm calling it the space game that's going to come out in 2020. That's going to link them completely. Like, even as an Easter egg, they're going to be in the same, like, you're going to travel from one planet to another, I think.
Or maybe you can, maybe if you can go through, like, you find like a weird time vortex or something, and you find the same planet, but it's in the past, and it's like recently destroyed by a nuclear holocaust and something like that. I don't know. Might be they might add that in. Obviously, there's the links between them are more like whatchamacallem, Easter eggy sort of things. But you could argue that it's a fantasy setting, and all of the radiation in the Fallout universe eventually turned into what they
and to
perceive to
magic,
be as
because
magic.
The what's his face, the shaman, talks to you through telepathy, and well, the rats have telepathy. Some of them.
Yeah, you get like a
spirit visions.
An image, a dream. Yeah, a dream. Oh, yeah, and also there is paranormal shit in Fallout 2. There is an actual ghost in Fallout 2.
Yeah, I forgot about her.
So there's obvious. I mean, we've already established the universe isn't it. There is a clear difference between Fallout universe and our reality, but including aliens, which, by the way, in Fallout 2, the Wanamingos are aliens.
I thought they were mutants.
I think they're kind of mutated aliens, but it's kind of said they are. I think you find. I mean, I'm pretty sure you find a random encounter where there is a UFO crashed and there is a dead Wanamingo around, or something of the sort. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure they're aliens.
Well, the way I remember it is that you initially believed they were aliens, but then you found out they were actually mutations.
I don't know. I'm still with the alien theory. I'm not. You might have a point. It's been a while since I played Fallout 2. That has to be said. I'm much more familiar with 4 because that's the latest one I've been playing. I had been playing. But until you got the keeping in mind that you have the radiation, you have the energy, the nuclear energy that is quite pervasive, and then you add the aliens, and then you add the paranormal stuff, which exists. The ghost is there. There's no way of going around it. You can see how that could, at a certain point, geological eons later, become something completely different.
Yep.
Or not. I don't know, but that's a very funny.
We'll see in Starfield
theory.
If they link them together.
Probably, we'll see. Maybe there's like a reference to Zeta aliens or something.
Yeah, speaking of Bethesda doing stuff with the lore, how do you feel about the recent change that they're putting in about the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 76?
Well, I was pretty. I mean, when you're doing something that different, there is bound to be for some issues to appear. Now, I think what they're gonna hang their hats on is that the early history of the Brotherhood of Steel is unknown, and there was a splinter group that left long before the Brotherhood of Steel we eventually meet happened. We find that out at a certain point. I don't know through which one. So there's always the possibility that there was like an earlier piece of the Brotherhood of Steel that splintered earlier than that. So I think that's what they're gonna go for. It's not the most relevant, or most people won't really accept that explanation. I'm pretty sure they kind of thought it through. or they're just going to consider 76 like an enclosed sort of like a pocket universe,
or it's a simulation,
or something like that. Which again, there's history.
Yeah, we've established that they exist. Simulations can exist.
There's history of that as well in the games, so I don't think it's that huge of a deal. It seems like a big deal, and I'm pretty sure they counted on that to, from a marketing standpoint, to create discussion and trolling and whatnot, which is what will happen. But yeah, no, I'm just I have a very pragmatic look at this. It's their IP; they can do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm okay with it or not, they will still do it. So yeah, it's either you buy and play the game and enjoy it for what it is, or you just don't. That's bitching about it won't really solve a lot of things, I think.
One thing that I hope that one day they will bring back, I still have not yet played for, so I'm not sure if it's there. The Highwayman, the amazing nuclear-powered car you get to ride in Fallout 2.
Yeah, no, they didn't. That's not in 76. Most likely won't be. I think they have plans for some vehicles, maybe, but I'm not sure they're gonna be in the game from the get-go. Also, the thing, basically everything takes place in a mountainous area, so can't do a lot of things with the Highwayman.
Yeah.
But that car is the bomb. Yeah, sure. Oh, also initially the trunk was bugged. And it was basically infinite storage.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
So that was also nice. Fallout 2 is a great game to get the survival perk or skill and actually get that shit upgraded quite quickly, to be honest.
You got a lot of stuff to find out there in the wilderness.
Because also, and to avoid, especially at the beginning, and I mean for this, like a bunch of the first several levels, the random encounters can kill you.
Yeah.
And they will kill you. So having a high enough survival to allow you to avoid at least some of them, like at least the giant red scorpions or the highwaymen, because there's those fuckers as well. That can actually save you a lot of time in reloads.
One of my favorite things to do actually was to put a lot of points in the outdoorsman skill at the beginning, and then make my way towards San Francisco area, because there was a very lightly guarded enclave outpost where there was advanced power armor in a locker somewhere. You just get that at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I meant outdoorsman, not survival. Sorry, survival. It's called in the later ones, I think. Sure.
Possibly. Anyway. I barely remembered.
Anyway. Yeah, and again, that's Fallout, man. Fallout allows you to do that shit if you know once you know the game. Like even in the first one, once you know where the water chip is, you just have to outfit yourself with as much gear as you need. Granted, mutants might be a problem. The super mutants might be an issue, but you can do that much earlier than the first time you barely get there. Another great thing that they did in Fallout 2 is that they completely revamped the how damage is dealt and dealt with, because, or at least they made the flamethrower not OP. I once played Fallout 1 and finished the game with the flamethrower, just with the flamethrower. And it was so great, especially when the ghouls tended to catch on fire generally more often than the rest, because I guess they're really dry.
Yeah.
And they would just run like so yeah, I once finished Fallout 1 just by using big guns and basically the flamethrower for close quarters, and I think I had the bazooka for the end. But then the first time I played Fallout 2, I'm like, oh yeah, man, flamethrowers, that's shit. So I got the flamethrower and I noticed it wasn't doing squat.
Not as effective.
No, nearly as effective.
It's a bit more to the north, so maybe it's a wetter country. It's still the desert, but it's wetter.
Still a radioactive desert, man.
More humidity.
Yeah. Be careful of the humidity. So they definitely they worked it. They again, like I said, they took what was good and they fixed what needed fixing.
Yeah, speaking of survival, there in Fallout 1 there was a thing where you actually needed water when you went around the desert, but they dropped that completely in Fallout 2.
That's one of the problems I have in general with a lot of RPGs, or the older RPGs, that they really don't take into consideration, water, food, rest. Really,
Well,
I mean,
to be fair, Ultima did that, and you would die very, very easily because of
yeah,
food.
yeah, just because Ultima did it poorly with the capabilities that it had at the time doesn't mean they couldn't have done it in the
Yeah,
meanwhile with when they had better capabilities.
yeah. So a survival mode.
Nowadays,
Let me just
yeah,
look up if there's survival mode for this. You keep talking.
nowadays you can totally you can and should do that because as far as I'm concerned, it kind of takes a bit away from the immersion on the or the awesomeness of the game if my characters don't have to eat, drink, shit, and sleep. I mean, you can have this super cool, complex story with like very well drawn characters and a nice conflict and everything and whatnot. But the fact that they don't have to eat, drink, shit, or sleep is like it's really nagging on my world building and like narrative writing sort of background and shit. That being said, even when I used to run D&D games, I was kind of lenient on the whole eating, drinking, and sleeping part because yeah, unless something happened during them sleeping, I was just like, okay, yeah, well, you wake up the next morning, or make sure you. I was like, make sure you spend the money that you would spend on food and drink, but I'm not gonna let they don't weigh anything. Like you just don't add them to your list because I'm like, fuck it, you're gonna eat and drink anyway.
Okay,
But
so
again,
look
then
up.
again,
Oh,
yeah,
continue.
go. No, no,
Yeah,
go, go.
I looked up, and apparently there is a mod that adds survival elements, but it doesn't really work on the story of Fallout 2. It's just survival through the wasteland.
Mm.
So it's its own side story.
Oh, okay.
There's even a demo for it, for the mod. It's called the Ardent's Fallout 2 mod.
Mm.
I should probably give it a go once if I had the chance. Oh, there was the speaking of mods and survival, there was an attempt to make Fallout Online at one point. I don't mean the one that was in development at quotation marks Interplay, but there's a combination of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, their
Yeah.
maps, their gameplay, into a single game called Fallout Online.
Yep.
I played it only when it was in the early stages around 2009. It's still ongoing from what people have told me. And back then, there was only one quest you could do that would earn you money and experience, and that was shoveling Brahmin poo.
Mm. I think it's made by some Russians or something.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the funniest things happened while trying to do that quest. The Brahmin would not poop as much as people wanted, so somebody just typed in the chat with all the exasperation that I imagine them having, poop more Brahmin.
Boo.
Yeah, it was basically followed, but because most people were they were human players, there were some issues with very quickly some gangs were formed that would mop the floor with anybody else that was not in their gang, and even if you're not in the opposing gang, you were just a bystander, you would get shot because they thought you were part of the enemy gang. And one of the funniest things possible happened in that game, because at one point I went to the military base and got a submachine gun. I just went to New Reno, and the first one, I was doing actually a play now style show. Then it's now lost to the ages. It's not on the internet anymore. But when I ended the show, I just pointed my gun at the first human player I found, shot him with burst, went down like a light. I walked over to him, healed him. He got back up. I walked away, and I predicted he's gonna say "What the fuck." He said "What the fuck."
Mm.
That was the most beautiful thing I ever recorded. and it's now lost.
Oh well, yeah. So I think we're kind of spent on Fallout 2. I mean, it's not like we're gonna talk about every encounter or every piece of the game.
Well, we can mention that Worf is in it. Michael Dorn. He plays a super mutant.
Oh yeah, Marcus. He plays Marcus. Yes,
Yeah.
he does a great voice for Marcus.
And in the town where you find him in Broken Hills, is it?
Yeah.
There's another super mutant that you can meet intimately.
Yeah.
There's that bit where he even gives you a present.
There's a lot of there's a bunch of funny references in Broken Hills, like uh, when you get there with the car, you go over you hit hit a ghoul, and then if you do like a funny little sort of side quest, and you lower a dwarf type character down the well. Besides the fact that the treasure he finds are caps, like 10,000 caps from Fallout 1, which are worth nothing in Fallout 2.
Yeah.
His once he's down there, he says he hears some noises and something, and then at the same time he says Morlocks, which is also super
I
funny.
think there was a meme on the internet about how you can identify the Fallout games. The first one is witty dialogue. The second one, witty dialogue, pop culture reference. And the third one, I forgot what the rest of them were. But there's one very important reference in the game. It's the game of Tragic.
Yes,
You can find Tragic the garnering cards.
that's so funny. That was so funny, man.
And I think I may be remembering this wrong, but I think you can actually get a perk that's addiction to Tragic.
I'm not sure. I never collected the cards or played with anyone in the game. But the thing did make sort of a comeback in New Vegas, where you can play Caravan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, New Vegas has quite a bunch of people who worked on the first ones. So, and there's quite a bit of that references from those from the first, especially from Fallout 2, actually, in New Vegas. But I don't know if we'll get to New Vegas this month.
Oh, we'll try at least.
3, I don't know. We'll see about that. We won't talk about Van Buren though. There's no need.
Yeah,
you've already made a video about it, so there's really no need for us to do that.
There is the Bible for it out there if anybody wants to read the design document, and most of it ended up in New Vegas.
I don't know about most of it, but a decent chunk of it.
So, what would you say is your favorite memory of Fallout 2? Favorite event? Favorite anything?
I don't know. It's kind of difficult to tell the entirety of some of the coolest things. Some of the weirder shit is realizing that you can wear the rubber boots.
Yeah,
that was quite surprising at that time. Getting the gecko skinning perk.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money there.
Which allows you to make a lot of money at the beginning, especially. So that was also nice. And I guess after that, maybe there's the fact that you can get implants. Sure, that's fine. Like, cybernetic implants for your shit. But I think that pretty much everything that happens in New Reno, that there's the gangster families, and there's all of this intrigue and shit like that. I mean, that's there's a lot of things that are very specifically Fallout 2, but I think New Reno.
New Reno at the arms store, you can ask the guy behind the counter if
you can sing the Rocket Man.
Okay, can I go back there behind the counter and rummage through your chests? He said, no, I'd shoot you if you do that.
Yeah, and you can, if you have a high enough intelligence, you can quote the Elton John's "The Rocketman" him, by the way,
I didn't do that.
because he's called the Rocketman, so you can tell him that. Also, in Vault City, if you have a high enough perception and intellect score, you can actually. There's one line where it says, Do you have any idea how many points I had to put in my perception in order to get this dialogue chain?" There's a bunch of those things as well. I think I have a screenshot of that somewhere from one of my games. But yeah, there was that, and what else? What else is totally Fallout 2? I don't know. I think those are mostly like the gecko skinning, the rubber boots. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with those, and the car. Definitely the car. Yeah. You?
Well, for me, there's a bunch of them. One of them is playing a low intellect character and running into I forget what his name was. He's the first NPC you find in Klamath. He's
Thor.
that Thor, yeah.
Yeah.
If
He's
you have
also
low intelligence,
Yeah.
the dialogue between you two is not me afraid of bug things. No, it's what ho, good chap, how goes your day? Perchance, would you be able to assist me with yonder problem here? It appears I'm being attacked by certain creatures that I cannot fathom their existence, and would you be able to? And that's how you talk between yourselves. It's the funniest thing possible.
I've never done that, but that's fucking wonderful that they put that in as a very funny joke. Cool.
Some other favorite bits is dicking with the people involved because I hated those bastards. They're so high-minded. Oh, we're superior to everybody. You have to pass a rigorous test to even get in here. You shouldn't be able to. Oh, you passed the test. How did you? Well, I cheated actually, just to make her like the boss of Vault City just go red in the face. I cheated my stats, so it passed the test with flying colors. Just like it piss her off. It was so fun. In a little playthrough, I would just kill everybody in there. I just hated those people very much. And there was one of the chains of I think it was your new Reno or in the NCR. There was a chain of quests that would lead you to Vault 13 eventually. But the chain of quests sort of involved you doing some shady things with helping one family basically destroy another family. And the final quest after you already did all the dirty work was, I think I can tell you the thing you need to know, but first you have to go to like in the middle of the desert, like where there is no witnesses, and make sure you stay there for a while, and you just stay there. Like there's probably nobody gonna come and kill you. I'm not tying up loose ends, and I just expected to be stabbed in the back, and I think, okay, the moment dialogue ends, I'm gonna shoot this guy. Because he wants to do something very mean to me, I believe. But it just led me to the place that I was supposed to go. And turns out he wasn't being a bastard. The game just made me paranoid at that point because everybody else in the game had screwed me over like that in some form or another. Like that just led me to Vault 13, where the Talking Dead claws live.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, remember that. I think his name was... I think it was a G, I think.
Oh, I forget it. It's been so long. You had to get him to wear a cloak, otherwise people would be kind of afraid of a death claw.
Yeah, but you can have him as a follower, and he's pretty tough, actually, if I remember correctly.
He is a death claw. I mean, he isn't melee range, but he's got death claws.
Dum, and quite a bit of AC.
The Deathclaw amulet was there in Fallout 1 or 2?
That's 2.
There's the famous amulet that some diner was selling.
Yeah, as you find there's one. You find like one locked Deathclaw in.
It's a giant chicken coop maze type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one Deathclaw in it. And if you kill it, the place goes out of business, I think.
Yeah. That's where you get the death claw omelet. Death claw omelet.
Also, the ability to get married in the game is again quite fun. You get a permanent follower that will always be with you and be kind of useless in combat. Also, one thing that I kind of enjoyed, there's there's a European version of the game where there's no kids, but we didn't have that one because we are hard-hearted.
Yar.
And the kids would just steal everything off you in the den. So at one point I just activated a grenade and put it in my pocket and leave nothing else there and just stand next to them, wait for them to pickpocket me and then run out of there. Serves them right. Oh, they did.
Oh, yeah.
They did not like the results. Actually, nobody in town liked the results. I think I got the child killer perk then.
That's never a nice one to have, but
I like that I have the possibility.
I guess that's a valid thing, but it's not something that, as opposed to the not eating, drinking, shitting, or sleeping, that's not being able to kill kids isn't something that I feel a lack of in RPGs. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but yeah.
It depends exactly on the kids that are in the game, because in Skyrim they put some really annoying kids, like the Jarl from Whiterun. I think it was Whiterun. The Jarl's son was just a total and absolute brat. Just wanted to smack him upside the head once.
Well, they should have at least introduced that feature in the game. Not kill him, just smack him upside the head.
Yeah, but there's mods, so it's fine. Mods solve everything. Well, I guess this will be it for the Fallout 2 segment. We'll probably have more to say about it next week when we talk about Fallout 3 as well.
Yeah, most likely. Most likely, generally, having this talk tends to, jostle some memories back. So maybe we will. But there's a lot of... probably going to be a lot of comparisons being made next week.
Absolutely.
Because of the jumpy jump. Although we could also talk about Fallout Tactics, but I'd much rather not.
Yeah, Fallout Tactics, I'll just sum it up as it's an okay tactics game, if a bit hard to control because you have a lot of characters and real-time mode is not really all that cracked up to be. In terms of story, it's completely non-canon. There's no Vault Zero with a lot of AIs that want to take over the world. Though that is kind of the story of Wasteland 2 a bit.
I haven't yet played the Wasteland 2. I have the director's cut and everything because I backed it on Kickstarter, but I've never gotten to play it yet.
And I've never gotten a chance to finish. I made the same mistake I did with a lot of games that I played a lot in early access, and then never got the time to finish it properly once it was released.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have the director's cut, which I guess is considerably more balanced than
whatnot. It's better because you actually have aimed shots in combat. Okay. The combat is still boring as hell. The combat is still incredibly boring. It's the worst part of the game.
Oh, really? I have no idea because I never played it.
Yeah, it has its advantage of eliminating stealth, because in Fallout you can enter combat in stealth mode.
You can.
Even in Fallout Tactics, you can have somebody, because it's a party-based game, you can have somebody in stealth mode somewhere up on a ledge with a sniper rifle, and you just engage somebody else in combat normally, and that person will have like a surprise attack at them and just rock them in the head. Okay, you can set up traps. You can do that in Wasteland 2. Everybody exits stealth. Actually, there is no stealth. Everybody starts combat.
Oh, well. Maybe they fix that in 3.
Oh, I hope so. I asked Brian Fargo about it, and he said, okay, what did you like about Fallout 2? And I told him. So he knows.
No, okay.
At least he knows.
Okay, fine.
Really looking forward to seeing how that shapes up.
They've been working on it for a while now.
Yeah, but they just finished Bard's Tale 4.
Yeah.
Which I should probably also play a bit more of outside of the early access. The music in the game is amazing. Like, it's just fantastic in terms of music.
That's good because it has bars in the title.
Yeah, 'cause everybody sings in the game. Everybody. You can't walk 2 feet without somebody singing in that Scottish, Irish, Celtic accent.
Is it like a musical game?
No, it's not. It's just everybody likes singing.
Okay.
Because they're from Scarabre and everybody sings there.
And they're like, we're gonna die soon.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea of it. So have you made any progress with fixing your PC and making new content?
I have made not that much progress with fixing my PC, but I did actually manage to eventually record the Castlevania nonsense cast, which will hopefully be up later this week.
Good.
So that one's coming out this week at a certain point.
I was just curious, did you watch Castlevania with the subtitles turned on, with the closed captions turned on?
I watched it in English.
Okay, I tend to activate like subtitles just because I sometimes don't have sound, and there was a big spoiler, like I think in the first episode, where they say, there's a character in the shadow that shows up at the end.
Yeah,
and they show his name like right there at the beginning. I said, he's in there.
You mean that? Yeah, no, I generally. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't on the. I thought you meant dubbing for some odd reason, no. Yeah, no, I usually watch it with the subtitles on for whatever reason, just so I can, maybe if I don't hear something properly, I can see it written down. It's kind of relevant in Castlevania because they have. They try their hand at some Romanian words.
Yeah.
But yeah, that thing that you're talking about in episode 1 it's a surprise only if you have no fucking clue what Castlevania of Castlevania in general. Rest of the people were pretty sure who that is. But yeah, I can see your point.
I think
actually that's how I started. So I at the beginning of the podcast I address what works and what doesn't work from a real world perspective in Castlevania, because the tagline is going to be a Romanian reviews Castlevania season 1. So if you want to know a bunch of shit about medieval Romanian history, check that shit out later this week on my channel.
Spoiler, I don't think we had that many vampires.
Or Catholics.
Well, I think there were a few, like in the Brașov area and around that place.
A few, yeah. Not in Târgoviște.
Probably not.
And definitely it couldn't have that level of a cathedral in Târgoviște in the 1400s. Anyway, but again, more details, more on that in the next nonsense cast. How about you? What you got special this week?
Well, I sort of forgot to fill in what's on the next gaming code, so I'm going to have to come up with something. But in terms of history, we're going to have Alone in the Dark, the first one. The one that game horrified me because the monsters were so low poly, so undefined in terms of their shape, that they were frightening because of how they looked, and they still are.
Wasn't that the one where you had like weird tank controls, like you rotated around your axis? Man, I could never get to play that game because fucking the controlling it was.
I know it was annoying as hell. Also, you had to do things like you had time constraints because the first monster shows up like 3 seconds in. You have to scurry around and try to push I think it was a bookcase in front of a window, or you have to get a gun and shoot the thing that comes at you.
Yeah, I remember getting the gun and missing because aiming it was anyway. That's gonna be fun, I guess. If you manage to play it, sure. I didn't.
I'm probably gonna bungle around it and do nothing of actual use, but I'm gonna talk about the game at least. And I guess that's it. We're going to see you again next week with a new podcast with Fallout 3 and possibly more about Fallout 1 and 2 and other stuff. Goodbye, everybody.
See you next time.